What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Summit Power Rankings. I am your host, X-Ray, and joining me for this week's Power Rankings is Mr. Gar Goomba. How you doing, sir?
Hello. I'm okay.
We're
I'm
about to.
still dying from the cold.
well, I hope you get better soon. Um, we're about to we're about to give the hottest of takes in these power rankings. I just realized I'm on the wrong screen. We're going to the top lane first. Um, but yeah, starting off with the top lane, I got Gumby, Guildborn, X-Ray, Zerner, Vegan, and Seeker. Gumby, Guildborn. I'm gonna be honest, kind of two letdowns this week. Both getting solo bowled by two ranked, lower ranked individuals. Before recording, I was debating with Gar of putting myself number one because of said solo kills, and but I decided against it. Okay, I wanted to make an accurate power rankings, I would say. Um, but Gumby and Guildborn still very strong top laners. X-Ray, I'm not gonna glaze myself because I already did that plenty in the on the climb episode. And then Zerna Vegan. I really debated about this one of who should I put over who, because I think both of them had really good weeks. Zerner getting the two solo bolos onto Guildborn, and then Vegan getting that solo bolo on Gumby. It's like which one's better, right? Is the two solo bolos kills better in a counter matchup, or is Vegan solo bowling Gumby better? So I went with Zerner. I think Zerner just had a little bit better of impact in his series he's played, and then Vegan. I think it was just a one off for Gumby. He was backing, canceled his back, and Vegan ran him down. So, and then Seeker. Uh, okay, I didn't say I was gonna do it, but you can't blind pick Ornn and Urgot into me. I think it's just criminal because I know how to play against each of those, play with and against each of those champions. So I just think it's a very big blunder by Seeker. So, but Gar, as we switch over to Gar's list here, Gar, take it over.
Yeah, so I will say it was a little disappointing to see Gumby not being able to pop off as he would like to in the top lane. He got effectively neutralized by the rest of the enemy team that series. But I still think in a vacuum he performed very well for what his role was, especially the Silas game. I think the Silas game gave a lot of points over. Granted, it is the one of the freest counter matchups in the game, Silas versus Malphite, but he took that advantage and just started running with it. So
Mm-hmm.
I still putting him number one. I hate that I did this. I'm putting X-Ray at two because I feel like his contributions on making sure that Seeker did not have any semblance of gameplay top lane is very strong for his contributions this week. And just for future reference, all my rankings around this time is based off contributions for the week. So X-Ray's up here,
Let's go. I
which
did it.
let
I did something, guys.
which then made me put Gilborn third because he did get solo killed by Zerner twice. Uh, which is pretty damning when you're a Masters player getting, womboed by a gold player, a very washed one at that.
In,
Uh,
in my opinion, in a favorable matchup, you're playing Ornn into Malphite, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, uh, I'm pretty sure Ornn is supposed to win that matchup as well. Oh, I looked up Ornn. I should have looked up Malphite. Yeah. Okay, so still Ornn has, or sorry, Malphite has a 46% win rate into it. So I would still say a very bad matchup for Malphite.
so Zerner being able to do that is really respectable. Obviously Guildborn did perform way better on the Renekton game. I feel like going forward they really should be just sticking on Bruisers because I feel like he feels way comfortable in that.
Mm.
Uh, so I'm keeping him in third, but definitely a bit of a blind side that he got, murked on by Zerner, which is why I also put Zerner in fourth. Now, granted, the Scion game very messy. I will not talk about it. That's going to be erased from history. That's going to be like a certain square in China. But I think for what he was able to do on his champions in that series was much better than expected, and so I'm putting him fourth. TLV still a little shaky on the tanks. There was a Malphite play that I didn't mention near Grubs where she flashed forward and didn't get anything out of it. There wasn't even like a Q. It was just literally like a 6-spec flash. Uh, I'm not sure what's going on there, but I feel like TLV definitely should probably get a little more comfortable in some champions. But the FIOR game, as you mentioned, solo killing Gumby, very good. I think honestly they look way better in FIOR than any other champion that they've shown so far. And then Seeker, sorry bro, he's dug in the grave because X-Ray can put him there.
Yeah. Uh, I don't really want to add anything else to Seeker. Um, but anyways, let's move on to the jungle list. My list, I got Ready, Bouncy, Loon, Blob, BR, and Ty is cool. Ready, if you haven't seen the climb, we went through X Unit series pretty quick because it was just hyping up Ready for about 5 minutes. Ready absolutely popped off this week. Went absolutely nut ham into Catboy and Drawer, so that's why he's won. Bouncy, really good performance. Game one wasn't super good for him, but had a really good comeback. Game 2 and 3. Loon, honestly, I was kind of not impressed with the early weeks, but he has since improved and proven me wrong. So and that's why he is here on number 3. Blob, really good game one, just not a very good game 2 or 3, and I think that's just chalk it up to drafts, honestly, for game 2 specifically. And then BR, I'm gonna be honest, BR looked like he was crashing out in his
Can't confirm.
in his series. So, and then Ty's cool. He just really didn't do anything in his series, so I decided to just put him number 6 this week. And yeah, that's pretty much my list. Pretty simple, self-explanatory, I think. But Gar, take it over.
With the exact same list, with the almost exact same situations. The Riddy Pain Train continues to show off, and this week was no different. Absolutely going monster mode. That's why he deserves number 1. I think Bouncy, even though game 1 looked a little shaky, he definitely went above and beyond with his Jinzhou game and his Wukong game, just terrorizing Blob and making him unable to play the game. Uh, so he was able to get a bunch of leads. He was making sure that Tubby was able to play the game and the Sai was fed. And, that's what it takes to be a really good jungler, is making sure your carries get all of the resources they need. And he proved himself for that this week. I put Loy in third because I think he contributed well to what he needed to do. In the Trundle game, he was making sure that he was able to catch isolated targets out with his pillar. On the Malphite or Amumu game, he got a bunch of really good engages. So really well played from him. I don't think it's enough to put him above Bouncy for this week, but definitely in the top 3. Blob, really good Morgana performance. A little unfortunate that the rest of the games just did not go in his favor. Just off the drafts, I feel like being solo front line as Trundle is really difficult considering you're not exactly a tank, and there wasn't really anyone you could take tank stats from with his ulti.
Mm.
And then Fiddlesticks into Wukong is just a time as tell can or a tale as time can tell. It's not a very fun one if your W gets interrupted. So, and also just the way that the game played out, just the Fiddlesticks was pretty homeless. So, he gets fourth for his performance in game 1. BR, as we mentioned, a bit of a crash out series. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna delve into with him. And then Ty is cool was on the unfortunate receiving end of Riddy's domination, and we may have to call for a welfare check on him if he doesn't show up tomorrow.
Yeah. Um, Honestly, I think jugglers, it was like you either played super well this week or you didn't, sort of thing. And maybe you had like that one pop off series for Blob, but anyways, moving on to our mid lane tier list. So number one, I got Shibs, Tubby, Gar, Harley, and Sunny, and then finally with Gix. So I got Shibs number one. You know, he even though it was the Ready Show, he was still, still had solid score lines, contributing a lot to the plays. And I think a lot of like the attention was in the mid lane for X Unit Forces, Catboy, and Jurors. So I think Ships just played a little bit better than Tubby this week. I think Tubby, though, I'm putting him number two, mainly because he did get that quadra kill in, I believe it was game two. And then
Hmm.
he was played even better in the Ari game, in my opinion. And I think Tubby, you know, over the last couple of weeks, has just been a very big performer for their team. So very, very impressed, and thus they are number two. Now Gar, very surprised. Now Gar, I put you number three. Now it's not because you won, because you didn't. But I honestly think you weren't the reason your team lost the series. I think you played extremely well for what you could do for the most part in your said series. And thus why Harley is number four, because I think Harley, while yes did win, I don't think contributed as much in the series. I would say, um, but you were still getting outperformed by Gar, so that's why I'm putting you number four. And then Sunny and Gix, they just neither of them had a really great showing this week. I think Gix, had actually I don't think Gix he had the auction game which he won, but then he didn't win the other two. The Investa pick was interesting, very unique, but I don't think it was executed very well. And then Sunny, I think, while yes, you're a very high level player, I just don't think you played to the level you should have, I should say. But with that, Mr. Gar, yeah, send it over to you. Very
Uh,
very similar list
yeah,
besides five
very
six.
similar list. Really quickly, Ships did a lot of impact, making sure the Sunny Blues couldn't play the game at all. Obviously, can't really see what happened in that game because nobody on either team streamed or spectated. So it's a little unfortunate to see the exact gameplay there, but Shibs was on his classic Acel. Anyone who didn't watch Shiblet play back in the Titan series, his Acel's a menace. Uh, and also didn't know he played Lux, but that Lux made the Oriana look extremely useless for the entire game. So really good on him. Uh, Tubby had a lot of impact. I feel like he's like the. I feel like Tubby definitely needs to be one at some point because he's putting up numbers. The Aurora game super important, especially that last fight. Just made sure that there was no comeback chance for Fraudwash to get back that game, especially after that Dragon fight. They literally just ended the game off of that, and also Tubby's Ari is a cult classic and is always usually performing even if he loses with it. So he should continue to stay like top one, top two. I only put myself third for the same reason that I feel like that even though Harley won the game, I feel like I had much more of an impact for the moments my team had. That could just be me stroking my own ego. Who knows? But I feel like with the lead that Harley had in either game, he just wasn't able to contribute too much to the team in comparison. Gix is at 5. I think he did all right. I wish he actually was able to do much on any of his games because even though he won the Akshan game and he had a really decent scoreline of 6-8, he didn't really contribute much damage to that game at all. And the way he looked pretty bad, and the Mbessa was honestly pretty bad too. So maybe some champ pool dilation should be happening for him, but I wouldn't put him out of contention for like a possible 3 slot if he performs. And then Sunny, once again, just on the receiving end of the Riddy Pain train.
Yeah,
And Ship.
yeah, it was a bit of a show for Ready this week. So, but moving on to the ADC list. Starting off, I got different. JGGT, Psy, Foreign Guy, Heiko, and Asteria. Now, different. Now, if you haven't watched The Climb yet, please go to watch The Climb because you'll know why different is first this week. Different was just built different this week. Played the Vayne game alone, I think, earned him first place, in my opinion. So that's all I really got to say. Please go watch The Climb. It's a banger of an episode. And then JGGT, I got him number 2. Even though he didn't like hard stomp his lane, I think he was I think he did a lot more than people realize, I think. And then Sai, I think game 1, the Yunara game, really bad. Granted, he's into Aphelios, one of Yunara's hardest matchups. But then you look at game 2 and 3, you're like, oh, this is why Sai is goated. Just the Twitch, AP Twitch, game 3 specifically was a little disgusting. I won't lie. And then Foreign Guy, not a whole lot to say about Foreign Guy. I think he wasn't the reason his team lost. I mean, game 1 faced different, definitely died in lane, but I don't think, his early deaths were like the turning point of why he lost the game. But game 2 specifically, it wasn't his fault why their Gar's class, third grade class, lost the series. And then Heiko and Asteria. I mean, Heiko did get one game off of Vanguard Elite, I believe, or I think it was Alien or Kins. I think, can't remember. Oh yeah, Vanguard Elite. So I mean, I'll give him props. But otherwise, Asteria, I mean, he lost the coin flip. And at the start of the season, I said if Haiku and Asteria lose the coin flip, they get put in the bottom. So
Is that how that works?
Yeah, that's how I literally said that at the start of the season. I said if Haiku and Asteria win the coin flip because they're coin flip players, they get rewarded by 1-2, or they get higher on the list. But if they lose the coin flip, then they go to the bottom. So, anyways, Gar, tell me about your list.
Right, so my AD list is significantly different to yours this time. Outside of different, I think he was the sole reason that Alien and the Kittens won that game. Definitely no bias there. I feel like he was the focal point of making sure that Alien and the Kittens had a really strong game 1, and also the deterrent for game 2 that my team just wasn't able to overcome for that. So he's one. I put Psy at second because I feel like they've always been performing extremely well, and this series has been no different. Sure, they did unfortunately lose game 1, but you take a look at their game 2, they had a really strong Sivir performance, the main carry of that team. And then game 3, thanks to Bouncy being able to facilitate a lead bot lane, I believe they played AP Twitch. It is just an insane amount of damage. It was close to 50k on AP Twitch, so like they were absolutely one of the main causes for Vanguard Elite to carry out that series successfully. I put Asteria third, even though they didn't win. The only redeeming point I saw throughout any of the X Unit versus Catpoint Warriors game was that Asteria was always at an advantage over Juggert. So I'm putting him in third for even the overwhelming difference of the Riddy Ship Pain Train. Was still able to get a strong KDA and damage and try to fight back. Heiko's fourth. I think the game 1 performance definitely sold me on him a lot, especially as I mentioned on the climb, the 2v4 play, he was able to facilitate and call for that this was a winning play. Uh, Obviously in the bottom rank because the Vayne Yumi game was really messy, and then if we don't talk about the Varus, that was probably one of the worst I've seen in a while. But I still think he did well. Uh, Juggernaut, I'm not saying he didn't do bad because I think he did really well, but it's definitely overshadowed by the fact that like every single other member on his team just did so much better for the team. Uh, so this fifth is not because he didn't do well; it's because he didn't do as much. And then I'm a hater. I'm putting foreign guy in sixth. He fed different.
Damn. But honestly, I think it just sucks for foreign guy because of what different did to to your team specifically, and it's hard to like not like blame the laners alone. So I understand the sixth, but it definitely hurts. So, but anyways, moving on to the support role. A little bit of an ego. I got Gamer D, number one.
Let's go, Gamer D.
Gamer D, you know, I think he said this after the series, and he said, "I don't think I've lost a series to Dean. I might be Dean's kryptonite." So, all I'm saying is, if you want to beat Dean, get Gamer D on your team. That's really all I gotta say. And then Dean, I think, you know, is playing with Asteria. You know, you have to play a different style, I think, like of like support when you're playing with Asteria. So, but you know, Dean definitely plays very well into this week's spot lane, Gamer D and JGGT. But unfortunately, wasn't able to pull out that win. But still played extremely well. Now, Sunshine, I'm kind of rewarding her. I think when I look at the rest of these players, I think, honestly, if I would have had changed this list right now, I'd probably put Spearman third and then Sunshine fourth. But I'm going to stick with Sunshine third. I think Sunshine, honestly, now, in my opinion, I think Enchanter players are a little bit inflated of, like their rank, I should say, because they don't have to do much. But the way Sunshine played in this last series, I think, facilitated, you know, different to be able to do some of the plays in his series. So I'm rewarding her because of how she helped different win in his series. And then Spearman, I don't remember a whole lot about Spearman's series, but you know, he won. I'm rewarding him, putting him fourth. And then Bertel and Kai. I know Bertel's team won, but our shit, I can't remember who. Sunshine won. Gamer D won. I think Spearman won, right? So Berto lost. Oh, that's right. The Karma game was very good. I think the Yumi game was, I think, once again, just a draft difference. I just don't. I say it a lot in the climb, so I'm not gonna harp on the draft. But that game was lost in draft, and then the Momo game I think was not terrible, but it wasn't great either. So, and then Kai, I mean, different. That's all I gotta say. Gar, sending it over to you.
All right, so this is probably the most controversial support tier list that I've ever done in my life. I put Spiritman 11 at first. And this is solely because their whole goal is to either engage for the team or to defend Sai. And they did that role spectacularly. Even though they lost game one, Spiritman definitely was still doing his best to make sure that Sai and or Tubby, if they were alive, was able to live as long as possible. And with the Braum, just no one could get past him at all. You could see Sivir positioning throughout that game. It was just absolutely insane with Braum being able to facilitate that. There was just no way Sai was ever going to get touched. And then game 3, there was a bunch of nasty Alistar Wukong engages. So really well played from Spirit Man. I think he deserves this rank 1 support for this week. On the other hand of this, Ellie, Sunshine, making sure that Different was able to be the 1v9 machine that he is. Playing the Milio absolutely perfectly, canceling out any sort of ultimates from the Seraphine, and then making sure that Different was still alive once the Malphite and Yasuo combo ended. Uh, Super impactful for game 1. And then game 2, that Nami was getting a lot of good bubbles and waves in. That just made sure that Harley and Different were untouched for the game, and it was just super well played from her this week. Dean unfortunately wasn't able to contribute as much since haha, really pain train. But I feel like he definitely did his best to help Asteria get as fed as he was that game on the Leona. Vel'Koz's game was a little awkward, but I feel like that entire game was really awkward for Catboy and Jors, considering that Gwen was running around the map, and unfortunately Gwen is immune. But I think he did the most impact he could for that game with the situation at hand. Kayusif I put at 4th, although I'm tempted to make them move down a little bit. I think they were doing their best to facilitate the game with the Seraphine and Sono ultis, but it just felt kind of not great at the end of the day. So a little disappointed there with how that went. Gamer D is in 5th, which may seem a little bit of a popularity contest thing, or I'm just a hater. I do think Gamer D did well for what was done, especially on this Braum game, but the Nautilus game just did not look too great when your team is at 33 KP, but you were only like 25% of it as a Nautilus of all people. I feel like something must have happened around the map where just Nautilus was not there, and I'm curious as to what happened. But I mean, hey, Game Ready, if you're able to put up those numbers next week, because I know you're getting subbed out this week, you could be higher up if I'm on power rankings again. And then Baratel, you're 6 because you played Yumi. Smile.
damn, the Yumi fucking debuff. Okay, fair. And then finally, to wrap up this week's power rankings, we're doing the team power rankings. So I got Ellie. I definitely mistyped the name. Ellie and her 4 kins. X Unit, Fraud Watch, Catboy and Jors, Vanguard Elite, and then Gar's 3rd grade class. Ellie and 4 kins, they're just I think they're on a heater right now, and I think I was harping them at the end, like the start of the season of like, wow, this team does not look super great, and we're at the halfway point now, and they are a dangerous team. I would say, as long as Different keeps playing the way he has, I think this team is going to be a very dangerous team heading into playoffs. They got X Unit. I mean, I'm not gonna glaze us, but we got ready. We just ride the ready backpack to the finals, Anyways, Fraud Watch. Fraud Watch has also kind of been on this like weird trend of like they win some games, but they don't win all the games. And looking at this like past week, it's just hard to put them any higher right now, I would say. I think they have had some wins. Well, I guess they also are a little inflated. I just realized because you guys had to FF versus them, so they are, I think, a little inflated with their points right now. So, but anyways, list is already made. I ain't gonna change it. And then I got Catboy and Jors. I think, played has been playing well, and then met Ready, and then lost. moving on. Vanguard Elite. I think Vanguard Elite's in this weird spot of like they can win games, but I think due to size, like limited champ pool and poor team fights, at some points, they lose games sometimes. So even though Vanguard Elite is fifth, I still think they're a good team. Same with Catboy and Jorders. So, and then we have the bottom team. How do I put this lightly?
Yeah.
They're good sometimes for about 5 minutes in a game, and then they lose. Yeah, that's really all I got. Gar's team is in a bit of a pickle right now. They have 2 points, and I think fifth is like 7, so they need to pretty much win out in order to have contention. So, but with that, Gar, let's hear it.
Hello, Gar thinks Different is gonna win it all. And Guildborn is going to be there to be on a bruiser and make sure no other top laner outside of maybe Gumby will have fun that game. And Sunshine is going to keep playing enchanters, and no one's going to be able to touch it because there's too many enchanters in this freaking game to ban. And yeah, Luton, you're doing your best, buddy. No, I think they're just a really strong team when they are locked in, and I think most, if not all times, they are locked in. So, if Different's going to be able to continue his dominance in the bot lane and no one else is able to contest that, then I think they have a very strong chance of winning it all. Especially when you take a look at like previous seasons, it's almost usually like a really strong ADC and then like a very strong jungle that win Summit. I could be capping though, but I feel like that's typically the case. X Unit, I think they're on a very strong high right now. It turns out the game against Vanguard Elite last week was just a one-off, and they're gonna steamroll the rest of the competition. Vanguard Elite is very coin flip on whether or not TLV is going to perform or not, which I'm probably just being a hater, but I feel like if TLV does a good game, then they're going to win. If TLV doesn't have a good game, then they're usually going to lose. But Sai and Tubby have been doing an absolute work for their team, so I think they're definitely a top 3 contender. Catboy and Joris, I had really good high hopes on them. Unfortunately, the X Unit game has shown a very prominent weakness in that jungle difference is a very strong thing. And if they aren't able to match that, then it's just very difficult for them to play the rest of the game out. So they're currently in 4th. Fraud Watch, I feel like they kind of have a situation where if they lose a game, it's more likely for them to lose another game. Just with how their team is typically shaped up mental-wise. And I feel like as the games go on, their champ pools get a little more restricted. So if they don't usually get a 2-0 sweep, it's very difficult for them to come back on the game 3, from what I noticed. And then Gar's 3rd grade class is playing for gold. Lowest points means the highest amount of value.
Oh, it's did you say golf?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. I get what you're saying. And yeah, with that, folks, that is going to wrap up this episode of Power Rankings. Thank you all for watching. Once again, thank you, Gar, for participating this week. And yeah, I'm X-Ray, and we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.